All right, welcome back into the channel. Today, we are doing our official NFC predictions. We predicted the record of every single NFC team, myself and JaVon. If you want to see the AFC version of this video, it is already out on the channel now. But without further ado, let us start with the NFC East. All right, so the NFC East, the home of the defending Super Bowl champions, me and JaVon both have them winning this division and being the only playoff team. I have the Commanders at 10-7, missing the playoffs, the Cowboys at 7-10, and the New York Giants at 3-14. JaVon has the Cowboys at 10-7, missing the playoffs, the Commanders at 7-10, and the Giants 2-15. I guess let's just start with the Commanders-Cowboys swap that we have going on. I'll give my case for Commanders over Cowboys, and then I'll kick it to you to give yours for Cowboys over Commanders. Cool. My Commanders over Cowboys thought is a fairly easy one to track. Jaden Daniels, I think, is better than Dak Prescott. Dan Quinn, I think, is better than Brian Schottenheimer. I think the Commanders have a better offensive line. And yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at, man. QB, head coach, offensive line. Give me those for the Commanders. I do think they missed the playoffs at 10-7, which I think more speaks to how loaded I view the NFC as. 10-7 is a really respectable season. Why do I have the Commanders falling below 2 games? Schedule's harder. Tape is out on Jaden Daniels. The defensive line isn't great. I don't see them pressuring a lot of QBs. And I have some real concerns regarding Cliff Kingsbury going into year 2. I don't think it's a sophomore slump coming for Jaden Daniels, but we've seen Cliff Kingsbury have a ton of success before. His first year in Arizona with, everything getting together. The Cardinals opened up that season 8-0 or something like that, and it quickly fell apart. And I believe by the next season, he was out as head coach.
I think so.
He's back now. Commanders, I think the offense takes a little bit of a step back. I still think Jaden is a miles ahead of Kyler. So I think that the offense is still good, but I do think it pulls back a little bit and it results in them missing the playoffs. You have Dallas over Washington, which I don't think is as hot of a take as some people may think it is, but I am excited to hear your reasoning.
Well, I'm going to start with the Commanders. And just like the AFC version of this video, I have not seen any of Dylan's records, picks, who's going to finish.
I had to make the graphic, so yeah. I know what's coming. But
yeah, so I'm figuring out his thoughts like the same way you guys are. But back to the Commanders, I do think he's going to have a sophomore slump. And some of the reasons are for some of the reasons you just said with Cliff Kingsbury, their defensive line. I don't really think they're going to get pressure to the quarterback like that at all. They still got contract situations with Terry McLaurin. And just, I don't know. There's a lot of people who look at the Commanders. Everybody just thinks just because you had an outstanding rookie year and your team gets better on paper that you're just going to get better. That doesn't always happen, man. With the Commanders, their weapons, number one, the running game is still going to be a little bit iffy. And for number 2, they're not going to be able to stop the run or the pass. They're not going to have a good defense regardless, and just how are they going to stop the Eagles and the Cowboys? The Giants, of course, they're going to beat the Giants easily. But the reason why I have the Cowboys so high is because I think the Cowboys are going to have a top 6 offense in the NFL, passing attack at least. Running the ball, that's going to be a little bit different. Now, when it comes to this division, I just don't think it's as simple as, or any division, like who has the best quarterback, because for one, well, in the AFC video, you had the Denver Broncos finishing ahead of the Chiefs, know, and everyone knows Patrick Mahomes is better than Bo Nix. Now, granted, one of the defenses is miles ahead of the other one. And I do think the Cowboys defense in this instance is not miles ahead, but it is significantly better. Like, if they can stay healthy, the Cowboys defense is going to be is a middle of the pack defense. They're a pretty decent defense. They have star power.
They got to figure out that Micah contract.
Yeah, I mean,
I think he gets extended before the season starts, though.
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna. I don't have that many doubts in my mind that he's gonna play come week 1, and as long as he's on the field. I mean, their linebackers are a little bit banged up.
I like Ezeraku, who they drafted. You still have Diggs. You still have Bland. It's an okay defense. I do think it's better than the Commanders, though. I don't
Yeah,
think either defense is great, but I think the Cowboys is clearly better than Washington.
the Cowboys defense is not miles better than the Commanders, but there is a little gap there. And I do think that the Cowboys offense is going to be better than the Commanders offense as a whole.
Yeah, I think that that's fair. It wouldn't surprise me. Again, when you look at weapons, I would rather CD and Pickens than Terry and Debo pretty easily. When you look at running backs, is Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler that much better than Javonte Williams and Jadon Blue? I don't know. I mean, I think it's at least comparable. Like I said, I'm taking Jaden over Dak. And I do think the offensive line for Washington's better, but I don't think what you're saying is that far-fetched. I don't think it, every time that Dak's played a fully healthy season, Dallas is in the playoff mix. And as much as I think it's fun to shit on Dak, especially as an Eagles fan, the results are there. They win in the regular season pretty typically. And again, we both each have a 10-7 team missing the playoffs because of how loaded the NFC is with talented rosters. It's not as top-end quarterback heavy as the AFC, but there's some great rosters in the NFC, man. We both have the Giants finishing pretty bad, and I want to kind of clarify maybe to some people who haven't checked out schedules why this is. Don't get me wrong. I don't think the Giants are a good team, but I think they have a great defense. Their schedule is brutal. They have to face this NFC East, who we both just acknowledged there's 3 potential playoff teams and one that's a lock, obviously defending Super Bowl champions. You go to the NFC North, which you could argue is the best division in football, and the AFC West, which you could argue is the second best division in football. That's what the NFC East has to play this year. That's also a part of the reason why I have the Eagles at 12-5. Because the schedule is just brutal for the NFC East this year. But if you're the Giants, you have the worst roster in the NFC East. So your 6 divisional games, none of them are gimmies. And then you play the AFC West and NFC North. So I just want to clarify that when it comes to the Giants. Do you think we see Jackson Dart play football this year?
Oh, yeah, he's going to see the field this year. I mean, we're making this video without seeing his second preseason game, but in his first preseason game, I mean, dude, he has some traits that you can't really teach, and they're translating pretty decent, man. He does not care about who is rushing him. Yeah. You can have the biggest defensive lineman in the NFL rushing him. It does not matter. His pocket presence, he's looking downfield, and that is one trait you can't teach. He's not antsy in the pocket. He's going to stay in the pocket, and he's going to deliver the tough throw, and that's one trait that is going to keep him. As long as he can deliver the ball with accuracy, he should be in the league for at least 5 years, at least. But I don't know. I'm not really that high on Jackson Dart, but he should see the field this year 100%. I mean, I think
with the records we predicted, it'd be a little crazy if they didn't play him at the end of the season, at least.
Yeah, I mean, their quarterback room is a little bit interesting. I definitely can see one of their veteran quarterbacks getting traded before the trade deadline to a team that might desperately need a QB. It will probably be Jameis because, I mean, trading Russell Wilson, you might as well just keep him.
Yeah, if there's a team that has like a QB injury where their quarterback will be back for the playoffs, but maybe he's going to miss a month and you want to stay afloat, for sure, I could see calling up the Giants. And, hey, if you're the Giants and you profit a 5th-round pick or something off of one of those guys, that's not a bad return.
Yeah, or I could see him having just a short leash in general. They didn't draft him as high as they drafted him for no reason. He's going to play this year.
For sure.
Especially if they're going to go 2-15, according to my predictions, 3 or 14. Like, what else do you have to lose, bro? Like, just
at that point,
get that connection going with you and Malik Neighbors. They still got that D line that is their
D line. Seriously, might be the best in football.
Yeah, man, and that's the one thing they got going for their defense is pretty solid. It's kind of crazy, but it's not going to matter much when your schedule is as hard as it is. And
I just don't think they have the offense to keep up with some of those teams. Maybe they do better than we think, but I can't see the Giants winning more than 5 games this year. I think 5's the ceiling, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, 5 or 6 to me too.
And maybe they make the playoffs and we look like fools. So be
that
it.
Would be crazy.
Yeah, we both have Philly winning this division. It'll be the first repeat division winner if this happens, since 2004, 2005 for the NFC East. So typically not a division that repeats winners. I have Philly at 12-5. You have them at 14-3. My 12-5 record for Philly, I will spoil it now, is the best record of any team in the NFC. So I think it's just a little bit more parity in terms of my predictions than yours. You, again, to spoil a little bit, have the NFC kind of looking a little similar to how it did last year, where there's 3, I believe, 13 plus win teams in your predictions. So I'm not going to say who, but Philly's obviously one of them. But I do want to clarify that even with my record and your record, at the end of the day, we both believe that the Eagles are the best team still going in the NFC. I guess my question for you is, in terms of a Super Bowl repeat, how realistic do you think that is for the Eagles? Whereas some Super Bowl teams, we can kind of look at it and think, yeah, they're probably not going to repeat. And other ones, this could be the start of something special.
Oh, I mean, they're still the best team in the NFC to me, so it's definitely 100% realistic. But they do have a couple of questions. Saquon, he won them a lot of games last year, I mean, granted, you guys had a lot of early leads or whatever, but further, like, especially in the playoffs, like, I just wonder, the season he had last year, how is Jalen Hurts going to be able to handle not having, a replication of what Saquon did last season? Now, granted, last year was his first year with Saquon. They were doing pretty well without him, but it's just a new dynamic there. And I can definitely see the Eagles defense getting thrown on a little bit more than last year. The defense, the pass game is not going to be as good. Maybe the run game, the pass rush is still going to be there, but it's still a question mark, man. In the preseason, their secondary, I mean, they didn't play that much, but man, like, I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say, man.
So,
Their defense, it's on the board that they get dotted up a lot more than usual.
Here's what I'll say. As to your first concern about Saquon, that doesn't worry me. My point to that will be the Super Bowl. When teams, because with how great the Eagles' offensive line is and how great Saquon is, if you want to stop him, you have to sell out to stop the run. And what Jalen Hurts showed you with A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith is, if you do that, I can dot you up. You have to have a near perfect defense to where you could play zero and lock up our guys. And I don't know if there's a defense in the NFL that's really equipped to do that. So we'll see about that. I do think that there is a real concern of the Eagles secondary taking a step back. And I don't think it hurts them fully in the regular season, but is that something that could cost them in a playoff game? Is the question mark at cornerback too something that could cost them in a playoff game if you're up against a Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams in a big spot? You had Slay and Quinyon Mitchell on the outside last year. Right now, it's Quinyon Mitchell and who? I don't know. I feels like as an Eagles fan, it felt like watching the preseason week 1, Jacorian Bennett won the cornerback 2 job by sitting on the coolers. So, that's where I'm at with it. I will say this, though. Obviously, it didn't look good from Keely Ringo and Adoree Jackson.
No.
In their defense, you're playing the Bengals. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins is the best wide receiver duo that you're going to face. Joe Burrow's excellent. Your starting pass rush wasn't out there. So in terms of pressure getting to Joe Burrow, there was no Jalen Carter. There was no Nolan Smith. There was no Jalix Hunt. Like the Majomo, Jordan Davis weren't playing. Zach Bond wasn't playing.
Yeah.
Reed Blankenship, your starting safeties weren't playing. Sidney Brown might be the starter. I think it's going to be Makuba. So those were the only defensive starters out there, where everything else was around secondary guys, which obviously won't be the case come regular season. But there were obviously things that you saw in one-on-one coverage that you don't like to see. I'm not saying that those guys are in a good spot. I'm definitely concerned about them in the long haul, but I don't think it's going to be as bad as the secondary was in 2023, where throughout the regular season, you're watching bad teams continuously be able to pass on Philly. Where I think it could matter is in a big spot. Do they have a guy that can get a stop? That's the question.
And honestly, man, I have questions, but they're not red flags, Like, I still have them at 14-3. You still got them number 1 in the NFC. at the end of the day, we're really just asking what we've seen Jalen Hurts and the Eagles do before. Can they do it again? That's really, I mean,
When we
all
talk
the
about
questions.
Philly, we are talking about them as can they repeat as Super Bowl champions?
Yeah.
Not will they be a good team. We
Yeah.
kind of are assuming that they'll be a good team. What could stop them from being Super Bowl champions? It is that secondary.
Yeah, and all of the questions that we have been answered before. We've seen them win we've seen them win a lot of games with the with the OK secondary. We've seen them go to a Super Bowl without Saquon Barkley. I mean, granted, there's been drama here and there. AJ Brown and his targets. I mean, Devontae Smith is one of the quietest receivers I've ever seen. So you don't need to worry about him complaining. But I mean, we'll see. Somehow, someway, the Eagles always find a way to put it together and win games. So,
yeah, I have no doubt that they'll be in the playoff mix, barring injury. Let's talk some NFC North. All right, so the NFC North, and yeah, we have a lot to talk about. It's very different. I think that in terms of the NFC, this may be our biggest difference in how divisions are going to play out. I have the Minnesota Vikings winning the division at 12-5, the Detroit Lions finishing second at 11-6, the Chicago Bears making the playoffs, finishing third at 11-6, and the Green Bay Packers missing out on the playoffs at 7-10. JaVon has the Lions once again being dominant, winning 14 games, and of course making the playoffs. The Vikings at 10-7 getting into the playoffs, the Bears at 9-8 missing the playoffs, and the Packers at 8-9 missing the playoffs. I'll start with my kind of elephant of the room here. The Minnesota Vikings, I am predicting them to win this division. There's a lot of popular pick right now for them to miss the playoffs that I don't really fully understand. And you don't have them missing the playoffs, so I don't have to have that argument with you. For me, when you look at this Vikings team, the offensive line got better. They added Ryan Kelly and Will Fries. I think it could be a top 5 offensive line in football. You still have weapons of Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison with a 3-game suspension. They'll be fine. TJ Hawkinson, Aaron Jones, added Jordan Mason, who is one of the more underrated runners in football. For the first 2 months last year, he was a top 5 guy in terms of rushing yards. The defense, you improved your defensive line. You have Grenard and Dallas Turner. You added in JaVon Hargrave and Jonathan Allen. You still have Van Ginkel. You have Cashman. You have a really solid linebacking core. The secondary, you still have the great corners that you had last year. You brought in Isaiah Rodgers. You did lose Cam Bynum, but overall, I think the defense got better, more pressure to the quarterbacks. The secondary, if you're facing a good offensive line, they can be tested. But with Brian Flores and his fire zone schemes, I think that he'll find a way to mess with quarterbacks. Ultimately, what the Minnesota Vikings and everybody's projection of them comes down to is how good is J.J. McCarthy. And do I have a definitive answer on that? I do not. But he would have to be pretty bad for them to fall from 14 wins to out of the playoffs. And because they had 14 wins with Sam Darnold last year. I know that this was a wild card team that was bounced in round 1, but this isn't your typical wild card team that gets bounced in round 1. 14 wins almost every other season is good enough to win a division and be a top 2 seed.
Yeah,
they just had a 15-win Lions team in their division, and then they ran into Matt Stafford, and shit happens. However, I think I have the Vikings taking a 2-step back because I don't think J.J. McCarthy will be able to replicate the season that Sam Darnold had last year. But we're acting like as if this team's going from Patrick Mahomes to a rookie. Sam Darnold's cool. Sam Darnold had a great season, but I think many would attribute the Vikings' success to Kevin O'Connell, the offensive line, and the weapons. J.J. McCarthy still has all of that. So I think J.J. is going to have a really solid year. And again, obviously I have it close, like 12-5, 11-6, 11-6. If the Vikings finish second or third in the division, it's not like I'd be shocked, but this is a playoff team.
Oh, they definitely are a playoff team. But I mean, the reason why you have them at 12-5, but I have them at 10-7 is because, like you said, I don't know who their quarterback is. They're still this is a playoff roster, but Rondale Moore looks like he looks like he's going to be out for the season. Jordan Addison is going to miss the first couple of games. So outside of Justin Jefferson, yes, Justin Jefferson is amazing. I worry about his options in the passing attack his first couple of games. I don't think that's how you want to start off your your quarterback's first couple of starts without all of their weapons. I don't know if that's how you would rather start that off. And honestly, it's possible that maybe the season can start off on the wrong foot when it comes to that. You know, their defense definitely improved. The offensive line did improve, but those are just the worries there. I worry a slow start, basically a rookie quarterback, not having all his weapons. We don't know what he is yet. Can he rely on his run game? It's just little questions there.
I think 10-7 is fair. Like, I know that I am above consensus at 12-5. The people that I tend to disagree with are the people that have the Vikings falling to 6 or 7 wins. And it's like,
that's insane.
They just won 14 games. The roster as a whole got better, and we'll see what the quarterback is. But, like, you know how bad JJ McCarthy would have to be for them to drop from 14 to 8 to 7 wins.
That means you're saying he's awful. Like, he's
like that's what you're saying is he's bad.
Yeah, like he's not an NFL quarterback. That's basically what you're saying.
To get to the records that we have, to get to 10 to 12 wins, I think he just has to be a game manager.
And honestly, the Vikings aren't going to let it get that bad they'll make a trade for a veteran QB before that. That's not going to happen because there's people who drafted him in the front office.
The roster's too good. And they have Sam Howell there too. And I mean, not that I'm the biggest Sam Howell guy, but he had flashes.
Yeah, I mean, there's other veteran quarterbacks out there. The Browns have 4 quarterbacks. The Giants have quarterbacks. There's veteran quarterbacks all around that you can trade for. There's no way the Vikings front office is going to let them only win 6 games after winning 14 games, and nothing significant happened to the roster or to the coaching. Like that's not going to happen.
I agree. I have the Lions at 11-6. You have them at 14-3. They were 15-2 last year, so I feel like there's a little bit more on me to kind of just say why I feel the way that I feel. Obviously, you lose Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. As an Eagles fan, I've seen a team lose both coordinators. I've seen it go well. I've seen it go poorly. So ultimately, at the end of the day, when 2 coordinators that leave your team get head coaching jobs, it usually means they're pretty good. And I don't think any Lions fan will tell you that Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn aren't good at their job. I just question if you can replace them and how quickly you could replace them. You know, obviously it's preseason, it's the Hall of Fame game, but the offense was certainly not as buttoned up as it was under Ben Johnson. We'll see how quickly that's resolved with Jared Goff out there. Another big loss, Frank Ragnow, an all-pro center. Losing an all-pro center and trying to replace him with a rookie in Tate Ratledge is a lot of work, especially for a team that really relies on their offensive line. They like to run the ball a ton. They like to run the ball the outside and up the middle. At least they did. And Jared Goff is not very mobile. If you get pressure up the middle, that is kind of the end of the play for Jared Goff. And there's a lot more variance for that to be this year. Now, don't hear what I'm not saying. That's why I don't have them winning 14, 15 games. At the end of the day, this is still one of the most talented rosters in the NFL. That offense, you have Penei Sewell, you have Jared Goff, you have Jahmyr Gibbs, you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, you have Sam Laporta, you have Jameson Williams, you have David Montgomery. Like, there's ballers all over that offense side of the ball. The defense, Aiden Hutchinson is coming back. Last year, he looked like he was on pace to win Defensive Player of the Year. He certainly could do it again this year. You have a Brian Branch. You have a Terrion Arnold going into another year. How good can he be? You have a Kirby Joseph, who is one of the more underrated safeties in all of football. Jack Campbell. Like, there are pieces all over this defense that I like. DJ Reed you brought in, which I do think is an upgrade over Carlton Davis. Like, the Lions are a team full of talent. I think it might take the first half of the season to figure some shit out. But at the end of the day, they're way too talented to not be a double-digit win team and way too talented to not be in the playoffs.
Yeah, and you think they're going to take a step back. Frank Ragnow, that was a pretty big loss, I'm not going to lie. But I don't think their offense is going to take a step back and their defense is going to get drastically better because they're healthy now. And that's just my logic. I mean, when you look at their weapons, like, they lost their offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. The talent is still there. They didn't really lose anybody worth noting like that. They have their tight end. They still have the wide receiver core. I think J-Mo is going to take elite next year. I think he's gonna be like I think he's gonna have like top 10, top 15 in receiving yards. I think when you think about the Lions defense, it's not gonna they're not gonna have all these injuries again, man. The reality is that last year they were significantly hurt, and when you look on paper, I think their defense is better than the Vikings. It may not be better than the Bears. On paper, I'm high on Brian Branch. I'm high on Jack Campbell. I think Jack Campbell has a potential to be top 5 at his position. Brian Branch is already top 5 at his position, in my opinion. Yeah. Already. Talent-wise, I mean, he doesn't have the stats like Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah, you could argue Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph is the best safety duo in football.
Yeah, exactly. And when it comes down to it, man, the Lions are still the Lions, dog. They're not going to just drop off and miss the playoffs. And they had Super Bowl expectations for them last year. This division is a trendy thing. The Vikings had such a great season last year. They're not just going to drop off without any significant changes. Yes, the Lions lost their 2 coordinators. The talent is still going to be there. They still have their culture there because their head coach is still there. And as long as you can run the ball, you have Aiden Hutchinson, you have a top 10 defensive player in the game, and you still have a very formidable secondary, you're going to be fine.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the biggest point that you made that I think is often overlooked is the Lions defense is healthy.
Yeah.
Like they were playing guys off the street in week 17, week 18 last year. So to be able to go into this season with a healthy defense and what are the odds that the injury luck goes as bad as it did last year is a big, big point. Obviously, we have a bit of a difference here in the Chicago Bears. Yeah. I have them 11-6 making the playoffs. You have them 9-8 missing the playoffs. We obviously both think that they're going to improve. We think that they did a lot to improve. I am in on the Ben Johnson effect. I think last year the Chicago Bears, culturally and coaching-wise, were a bottom 5 team in football. I mean, they fired their head coach the day after Thanksgiving for a reason. I think Ben Johnson has come in, and from everything that I have heard, it has been tough love and it has been hard coaching. And I think that is exactly what this damn team needed after seeing their attitude on and off the field last year. I expect Caleb Williams to start to live up to that number 1 overall draft pick, that generational prospect that we all thought he was. I expect Rome Odunze to live up to being a top 10 pick at wide receiver. You still have DJ Moore. Colston Loveland was, I believe, a top 10 pick. You have Luther Burden, who you brought in, DeAndre Swift, a top 10 offensive line in football. The Bears offense, damn sure, with Ben Johnson, a top 10 offensive line, and those weapons better be good. If not, hit the panic button on Caleb Williams. The defense, Montez Sweat on that defensive line, their defense was great last year. They were one of the best in the red zone. Jalen Johnson, and just an overall good defense. I think Tyreek Stevenson, I know everybody knows him from the Hail Mary play, but I think he's I think he's a ball player.
Yeah, he's solid.
If you weren't good, that was cut worthy. There's a reason that he's still on the team because he's a good football player. TJ Edwards, Terrell Edmonds, like a good linebacker core. Their defense is more than serviceable. I would say it's probably somewhere in the 12 to 18 range, middle of the pack in the NFL. But their offense at its highest level is a top 10 offense this year. And that's why I got them at 11-6.
I mean, it sounds good in theory. I'm not as high on Caleb Williams as everybody else is. I'm not saying he's a bust. I don't think he's going to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. I don't think I feel like currently right now, from what I granted, I mean,
I think by the end of this season, he's in some people's top 10s.
Okay, and that would be the hope. He's a number 1 overall pick. I just think if he is going to live up to the expectations that everybody thinks, like he was supposed to be Patrick Mahomes 2.0. I don't think that's going to happen in one season. I think it will have to be. It's not going to happen overnight. The weapons are there. The O-line is there. The solid defense is there. I think Caleb Williams is going to be what's holding this team back for at least this season from being a Super Bowl contender or just an average team. I just think this is going to be the year. The little 1-year gap. He's actually, because when you think about it, he played last year, but real talk, man, he got some experience.
Well, he's on his
I'm not
third
trying to make
offensive
excuses.
coordinator.
Yeah, I'm not trying to make excuses, but this is low-key his rookie year. Low-key. I'm just being real. Last season was kind of a mess. It went downhill really fast.
And the same shit happened to Trevor Lawrence with Urban Meyer. Now, obviously, Trevor Lawrence, we're in like what, year 4, year 5, and we're still like, is this the year?
And
hopefully
he still
for Bears fans, we're not at that spot with Caleb Williams, but we'll see. We didn't talk about this because we feel the same way. The Packers, I have them at 7-10, and you have them at 8-9. We both have the Green Bay Packers with a losing record, and I think that's a very unpopular opinion. I've seen people predict the Packers to win this division, which to me is like, no. But my reason for where I have the Packers is similar to the way that I talked about the Raiders if you watch the AFC episode. This is the best division in the NFC North. And the Packers, to me, are a lot of good, not a lot of great. And when you are in a great division, that doesn't lead to a winning record. Somebody has to be losing games. And the Packers were 1-5 in this division last year. Detroit is still better than them. Minnesota is still better than them. And I believe clearly Chicago passed them by.
Okay.
It would not surprise me if the Packers once again were 1-6, or 1-5, or even 0-6 in this division. The only game they won last year was on a blocked field goal at the buzzer against Chicago.
Yeah.
That was it. And then they're playing a second place schedule. I don't know. I'm not a Jordan Love guy. They don't have a true wide receiver one. Their defense is good, not great in terms of they don't have a real true elite edge rusher. They lose Jair Alexander, so they don't even have an all-pro potential at the cornerback position. I like Xavier McKinney, but did we just see the best year of his career? It's very likely.
Yeah. And
the offensive line is good, not great. It's a good team. There's not a lot of great.
Yeah. I mean,
Matt LaFleur is great, though. Matt LaFleur is great because I know there's some Packers fan that's commenting that right now. Matt LaFleur is great. But what is he? The second or third best head coach in this division. And if Ben Johnson hits, even at that, similar to the AFC West, it's Pete Carroll, Sean Payton, Andy Reid, and Jim Harbaugh. One of those guys has to be the fourth best quarterback or a head coach in the division. If Ben Johnson's a hit, Kevin O'Connell, Dan Campbell, Matt LaFleur, somebody's got to be 4.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably number 4 now. But, I mean, we don't even know, man. Low-key, I have 2 questions because, number 1, I want to know how high are you on Jordan Love? And number 2, is there a world where because I don't know how high you are just yet, but is there a world where he's the best quarterback in this division, but he misses the playoffs? Can you see a world? Because you said their defense is okay. They're good.
I don't think he's the best quarterback in this division currently.
Okay.
So what we are talking about, what we know, I think Jared Goff is better than him. Okay. What I predict is Caleb Williams is better than him by the end of this year.
Okay.
That's how I feel I think by the end of the year, we view him as the 3rd best quarterback in this division. Maybe 4th. We'll see what happens with JJ McCarthy. I'm really not willing to predict that I think that they'll be in a similar tier. The problem I have with Jordan Love, and I don't know if it's Jordan Love or the fact that the Packers haven't surrounded him with enough weapons. They drafted Matthew Golden, but that was a guy that I wasn't very high on in the draft process, we could pin that for another day. He's a turnover a game. It's just a guarantee he's going to be erratic with the ball at some point. And he has multiple turnover-worthy plays a game. And sometimes his arm talent and athleticism is so good that shit works out for him, and it's a touchdown. Yeah. But there is other times where it doesn't work out, and you're like, what the hell? And in a division like this, in a conference like this with loaded rosters, I don't think you could play that game over and over again and yield success.
Yeah, I mean, their roster, when you just look at the division, man, they don't have a top. You can argue they have the best the worst offense and the worst defense in their division. And regardless of how good the coaching is and the quarterback being good for a turnover or 2 a game, even being optimistic, man, their ceiling is maybe 10 wins, in my opinion.
I think their ceiling is what it's been the last 2 years. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think they got better.
I mean, if we're looking at JJ McCarthy and he has a Caleb Williams, if he has the exact same stats as Caleb Williams did last season, I think he's better than Jordan Love. you know,
Well, I don't know if I agree with that. I think
I think
I
so,
think
man.
well, here's what I'll ask you, because this is in general, what I think JJ McCarthy's season is going to look like this year is similar to what Bo Nix's did last year. So if you did a
Okay.
quarterback rankings today, you taking Bo Nix or Jordan Love?
I'm gonna take Bo Nix, man.
So
And look,
if JJ McCarthy just replicates what Bo Nix did last year, the Packers have the worst quarterback. What you said was the fourth head coach. I think it's third or fourth.
okay.
They have a bottom 2 offense and a bottom 2 defense.
And look, man, there's just because I take a quarterback over another quarterback, it doesn't mean like their arm talent isn't better. Like everyone knows Jordan Love's arm talent is there.
I think it's a good conversation. I think Brock Purdy, Bo Nix, Jordan Love, Dak Prescott, like they're in the same range of guys.
Yeah, I mean, someone can have all the arm talent in the world. If you're going to put the ball in harm's way, why would I pick you over a quarterback who doesn't? That's just I mean, that's just how I think of it, man.
Yeah, for sure. So we both have the Lions and Vikings in the playoffs. I have the Bears taking a little bit more of a jump this year, and we both have the Packers as the worst team in the NFC North. Let's talk some NFC South football. So the NFC South here, there's obviously one glaring difference in me and JaVon's standings, but I'll go through them. I have the Bucs at 11-6 winning this division, being the only playoff team. I have the Panthers in second and the Falcons in third, both at 7-10, and New Orleans Saints at 3-14. JaVon has the Buccaneers at 12-5, winning the division. The Falcons at 8-9 as the 2 seed. The Saints at 3-14 as the 3 seed, and the Panthers all the way down at 3-14, finishing last in the division. We'll talk about Tampa in a second, Buccaneers fans. Carolina, we got a 4-game difference here. Is this just as simple as you don't believe in Bryce Young, or is there more to this?
Man, I don't think their ceiling is. Man, I don't even think their ceiling is 7 wins. I'm being honest with you, man. The roster is not a good team. Regardless if I believe in Bryce Young or not, I don't know how high you are on Ted McMillan.
I thought he was the best wide receiver in the draft.
Okay. I thought he was a second because I had Emeka Egbuka at number 1. But let's just say he was number 1, man. Now we have something to look forward to for Bryce Young. He has that certified number 1 weapon now. The defense is atrocious. Everything else is atrocious. Like, is there a chance Bryce Young gets benched next season? Yes. There's not a world where they go 7-10 and he gets benched next season. I don't see that. I mean, man, you think they're better? You think they're better than the Falcons?
I am bought into their second half success, and I have them in the Falcons both at 7-10. So I would say, like, in terms of a tier, like they're in the same tier of teams for me. In terms of divisional record, I'd have to look back at it specifically, but I guess I had the Panthers with a little bit better record in the division, maybe, or just in the conference, whatever the tiebreaker may have been. But I have them at a level playing field. I'll tell you what, I'm more confident if you told me one game from my life and sending Bryce Young out there than Michael Penix today. I haven't seen enough out of Michael Penix, and Bryce Young was balling in the second half of last year.
He was.
Both the Chiefs and Eagles a run for their money. And I guess I'm just more bought into that than you. Offensively, the offensive line isn't great, but I like the weapons that they have for Bryce now. Tedero McMillan, Jalen Coker, Xavier Legette, Jimmy Horn, Jatavion Sanders, Chuba Hubbard, Rico Dowdle. Again,
so you can work with that.
Listen, I have them at 7-10. So I'd like to clarify, I'm not suggesting that they're a playoff team with those weapons. We'll see what Tet turns into, but it's enough to work with to go out there and get some wins. The defense was terrible last year, but Derek Brown's back healthy. Their run defense is not going to be as bad as it was last year. When Derek Brown went out, that run defense went out. Derek Brown staying healthy is obviously huge. You have J.C. Horn, who obviously just got a massive contract. Again, I don't think the defense is great. The 7 wins, I also think, comes from being in this division. Obviously, I'm lower on the Falcons than you are.
Yeah.
We're both low on the Saints. So I think I had the Panthers getting maybe 3 of their wins in this division, which is just about half. I think what I saw from Bryce last year, they're going to be in games. They're going to pull some out. I like Dave Canales. I think the offense is going to be fun this year. And ultimately, I just don't I view them as the same tier as Atlanta, which you don't.
Okay. I mean, you know what? I think it is because I'm low on Bryce Young because he is a number one overall pick and he doesn't have the best. He's not in the best situation. But if he's a number one pick, the Panthers going 7-10 should not be unrealistic, and it is to me. So yeah. I think it's because I'm just low on Bryce Young, and that's just being honest. But I mean, if the second half of last season, if that's real, 7-10 is realistic. I don't think it was real. I think he was fighting for his NFL life, and just to make sure I secured my spot here.
While I disagree with you, I don't think that I think what you have there is on the board.
Yeah.
I think it's on the board that what we saw in the second half of last year from Bryce Young is the best he ever was and will be in the NFL. I'm choosing to believe that he'll be able to continue and build, and if this team gets a better defense, they'll actually be able to compete for a playoff spot. But that's where I'm at. Tampa Bay, I have them at 11-6. You have them at 12-5. I have Baker Mayfield as my MVP.
Yeah, I remember
that. But remember, I just want to clarify. 12-5 for the Vikings and Eagles was the best record I had for any team in the NFC. Tampa overall in the NFC is my 3 seed. I think that's high enough to win an MVP. Josh Allen was the 2 seed last year. So I think it's possible, especially when you look at the 2 teams I have above Tampa, where it's the Eagles and the Vikings, which I don't think they'll ever give Jalen Hurts the MVP because they'll always just throw the credit to Saquon and that offensive line. And the Minnesota Vikings, I clearly think that that's a team effort. Whereas for Tampa Bay, I think the passing offense is going to be the engine of the car this year. I think Baker throwing the ball to Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Emeka Egbuka, Jalen McMillan, Kada, and Bucky Irving and Rachaad White out of the backfield. I think Baker, it's not off the board that he has 4,800 yards and close to 50 touchdowns. I think that's very heavy on the board. I think their offense is going to be scary. I think the defense is good enough. I wish that they had a little bit more pass rush presence, but I think their coverage will be good. My question for you is Tampa Bay a legit Super Bowl contender? Or are they a product of their division being so weak with their record?
You know, 2 things can be true. And I don't know if you think Jalen Hurts is an elite quarterback or not, but there aren't that many elite quarterbacks in the NFC. So I don't think they're contenders. I don't think they're contenders. Now, if Baker Mayfield can win MVP or is even in the conversation, like legit in the conversation, I think I think they have to be. Because their offense is going to have to be amazing to compete with Lamar and Josh Allen as MVP. Yeah. I think their offense is that good. Yeah.
I think Tampa is a legit contender to get to the Super Bowl. And once you're there, anything's possible. That's how I feel about it. I think that they could come out of the NFC because, to me, the Eagles, with what they did last year, are the top of the top. But every other team that's a contender has their question marks.
You know what? That's what I was thinking. Because it's like, not only that, I don't think people understand. Like, Baker Mayfield had the best season in his entire career last year. If he can do better than that this season, I don't think you understand the stats that Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen have been putting up, man. But Baker Mayfield is in the MVP conversation. In this division, they might win 14 games. He's in the MVP conversation. Like, real talk. Their defense is they have a veteran defense.
If the Panthers are what you think they are, I would probably bump Tampa up to 12, 13 wins.
And that was in your hot take video. You had
I had Baker MVP.
Yeah. I mean,
it's probably my hottest take going into the year that, I do truly believe, like, with the weapons he has and with their defense being decent enough to win games, but not good enough to put teams away in the first half, Baker's going to have to put up some stats.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the recipe for an MVP level season. The Falcons, I have them 7-10. You have them 8-9. So we kind of both agree here. I don't know what Michael Penix is, and I don't like the defense. That's kind of my justification for this. I think they're going to be a popular pick to make the playoffs. I think they're going to be a hot take pick to win this division ahead of Tampa Bay. I think people who are looking to make differences in their division predictions this year, it's going to be very popular to say Atlanta over Tampa winning this division. I don't think they're in the same stratosphere as teams.
Not even close.
So I like Bijan. I like Drake London. The offensive line's decent, but I just don't know what Penix is. They were 1-2 with him, so it's not like when he came in, you saw a shift in results. Like, he looked better than Kirk Cousins, obviously, but the results were still pretty much the same. They draft Jalen Walker and James Pierce. If those guys are legit threats on the edge, then maybe they're a playoff team. But that's a big if. And if not, they might have a bottom 5 defense in football.
With 2 wasted draft picks.
Yeah, like they lost Justin Simmons, they lost Grady Jarrett. And I get it, Grady Jarrett wasn't what he once was, but like, you lost pieces.
Yeah.
And you tried to replace them through the draft. We'll see.
Yeah, and you know
what? Because the 2 edge rushers they drafted, man, like those were some of the more volatile pieces in Jalen Walker and James Pierce, where the ceiling was high, but there were some question marks about their
both of them
play. It wasn't like, some other edge rushers that went later, Ezra Raku and Mike Green. We felt pretty good about certain aspects of their game being polished. Jalen Walker and James Pierce were high ceiling guys. Let's see if they reach them.
Hey, man, it's crazy. And everyone, I have an Atlanta Falcons. I have a friend that's an Atlanta Falcons fan, and he went to all of Michael Penix Jr.'s games. He was even flying to the away games. But he was like, you know what? Like, he was good. He wasn't impressive. And you know what? There's rumors that he unlocked Kyle Pitts in training camp. Like, and this is, we hear it every year.
Yeah,
we hear it every single year. And Kyle Pitts last season with Kirk Cousins, give me more targets. You can have the number. I just want more targets. And it's funny. But, I mean, Bijan, he can win Offensive Player of the Year. That's not impossible. I'm just trying to be optimistic for a second.
They're going to be in, for fantasy, based on what I think about their defense. Like, those weapons are going to have to try. So Drake London and Bijan, aren't bad picks by any means.
And they have a top 5 running back talent-wise in the NFL.
Yeah.
They have a certified number 1, a solidified number 1 receiver. Drake London is a number 1. Like, he's I'm not saying he's top 10, top 5 in his position, but that is a number 1 receiver. You
Absolutely.
got other solid pieces all around on the offense. You got the highest tight end draft pick in the history of the NFL draft there. He got drafted there for a reason. Your pass rush should be better. It should. You spend 2 high draft picks on edge rushers, it should be better. Your secondary is probably cooked. I'm not gonna lie. Your secondary is probably cooked, but you still have things to look forward to. I don't have a reason to believe that the Falcons are going to be better this year than last year.
Yeah,
unless their edge rushers are unless they go for 2 for 2.
Leap.
Huh?
Or if Penix takes a leap from what we saw at the end of the year.
Yeah,
I'm not projecting it, but if it happened,
it's possible. He's a first-round quarterback. They must have saw something. They must have saw something. And you know what?
I know some people that love Penix, man.
And you know what? If they didn't have Penix, this would be a completely different conversation with Kirk Cousins there. So they're kind of lucky in some aspects that they have him, to be honest.
For sure. So we both have the Saints at 3-14 as one of the worst teams in the NFL, and we don't need to spend a lot of time because Saints fans, I'm sure they're already just mad about it, and the last thing they want to hear is us talking about why their team's so bad. I think the defense is kind of decent, actually. A lot of vets on the defense. Had some retirees already, though, so we'll see there. My bottom line here is they have the worst quarterback situation in football. in Tyler Shuck and Spencer Rattler. I don't even know if either one of those guys, truthfully, is an NFL backup, let alone a starter. And I just can't see the offense scoring more than 2 touchdowns a game on average.
Dude, this is like the worst quarterback situation I've seen ever. I can't think
is
of a worse
Cleveland
one.
Browns 0-16 level bads of Deshaun
Honestly.
Kaiser as your starting quarterback for an entire year.
And
Like, that's where we're at.
If you don't, I get it. You drafted Tyler. I don't see a world where they win more than 3. 3 games is kind of being optimistic. I'm not gonna lie.
Tyler Shuck was drafted before Shedeur Sanders. Let's all remember that happened midway through the season. Let's talk about the NFC West, which is more fun, but we do have some disagreements. All right, so the NFC West, pretty similar in terms of standings. I have the 49ers 11-6 winning this division, the Rams 11-6 finishing in second, the Cardinals at 7-10 in third, and the Seahawks in fourth at 7-10. Wow. So I have 2 clear tiers for myself. JaVon has the 49ers bouncing back to 13-4, winning this division. The Rams 11-6, winning this division, or not winning the division, excuse me, finishing second in the division, making the playoffs. Seattle 10-7 makes the playoffs, and the Cardinals 6-11 miss the playoffs. I guess we could start with Seattle. That's the biggest gap that we have. I have them at 7-10. You have them at 10-7. My reason for having them at 7-10 is pretty quick. I do think that they're going to be a top 10 to 12 defense in football. I think that it's going to be really hard to score on them, and their games are going to ultimately be pretty close. I don't believe in the offense, and we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Their offensive philosophy doesn't make a ton of sense to me. So they move on from Geno Smith for Sam Darnold, who I do think are similar tiered quarterbacks, but different players. Geno Smith is able to still be Geno Smith under pressure. Sam Darnold, I feel, needs a clean pocket. The Seattle Seahawks offensive line is not very good. And what we saw from Sam Darnold at the end of last year, when pressure has got on him, he's not very good. They bring in Clint Kubiak, who, from at least what we saw with his time with the Saints, likes to throw the ball deep. This team's top 2 receivers are Jackson Smith and Jigba, and Cooper Kupp, who are better served as underneath options. Kenneth Walker can't ever stay healthy.
Ever.
So there's just way too many yellow, red flags, question marks on the offense for me to believe in them being a playoff team. I think the defense is great. I think the offense is going to hold them back.
I see what you're saying. I mean, their defense, in my opinion, is great. But I'm going to counteract your argument with the offensive line being buns with the fact that they do have 2 excellent intermediate wide receivers that Sam Darnold can get the ball out quick to, and who can make moves after the catch. We've seen Cooper Kupp win a Triple Crown, Jackson Smith and Jigba. He's supposed to take this crazy leap this year. Everybody's predicting. He's projected to have a really good season this year. Sam Darnold is not a world beater. He's not a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He's not a top 10 quarterback, but he is a veteran quarterback, and he knows how to get the ball to his best players, as we saw him do last season. And that's why I have the Seahawks winning 10 games. Yes, they changed their entire culture around. They changed their whole dynamic of the team, basically. It feels, especially the offense, overnight, basically, in the span of a couple of weeks in the offseason. But they still have good players. They still have good pieces, veteran players, and a great defense. So I think they can still win 10 games. I'm kind of shocked that you think they're on the same level as the Cardinals. That's crazy.
I do. I think that we perfectly do represent, though, the range of outcomes for Seattle. I don't think they finish worse than 7 wins without an injury, but I don't think they finish better than 10 wins.
That's
either.
Fair.
So I think that we kind of have a pretty good range there. Let's talk 49ers. We both have them bouncing back. I don't know if that's a consensus popular opinion. I saw Colin Cowherd's predictions the other day, and it's Cowherd, so take it with a grain of salt. He can be a rage baiter, but he had them finishing 4th in this division, which was interesting. We both have them bouncing back. So there's no real debate to have, but why do we have them bouncing back? For myself personally, I find it hard to believe that the offense is going to be any more injured than it was last year. Christian McCaffrey seems to be back and healthy. I like the running back room as a whole. Ayuk will eventually be back healthy. I like Jawan Jennings. I like Ricky Pearsall getting a full training camp with this team, not being shot this offseason, not having an injury. George Kittle. And I think the defense, Robert Saleh may be the biggest acquisition for this team all offseason. He's going to get this defense back right. They pretty much haven't been the same since he left. They draft Mikael Williams out of Georgia. They really prioritize that defensive line. You still have Fred Warner. The secondary, I do think, could be a reason that they are costed games in a playoff spot. But the 49ers also have the easiest schedule in the NFL. I think it's important to note that. They're playing a fourth-place schedule and have the easiest schedule in terms of win percentage of opponents last year. So while we have them with 11 and 13 wins respectively, I don't want to say it's not earned, but it's not the same talent of your typical double, 11, 12, 13 win team. I think if everybody played like the same schedule, San Francisco's a 9 to 10 win team, but their schedule gets them to 11 and 6 with Shanahan, with Purdy, with McCaffrey, with these guys that have won before together.
Yeah, and like you said, I'm very optimistic. When I was doing their schedule, I was very optimistic with a lot of their games because their schedule is easy. Their schedule is easy, and their defense is going to be better than last year, even if the personnel isn't, even if the names don't pop out on the screen like they used to in the last couple of seasons. And that's because of Robert Saleh. I mean, I know he loves to run man because of the personnel he had on the Jets, but you're not going to be able to run as much man as you'd like with this personnel here. And I think that'll be okay. I think he can still maximize the talent that's on this defense. And they still have some very solid players. I think their defense is going to be pretty good. Their offense is going to be fine as well, in my opinion. You still got Kittle, McCaffrey, Ricky Pearsall, like you said. If they're gonna win 13 games, he's gonna have to step up big time. I think he's the X factor for this entire team. If Ricky Pearsall can perform to first round talent, this offense is going to change the whole dynamic because now Ayuk looks expendable a little bit because, he's been injured.
If Ayuk can get healthy and Pearsall performs like a first-round pick, then they might actually be a Super Bowl threat. Because that brings me to the question I want to ask you. It's kind of two parts. One, who do you think is more likely to be a Super Bowl threat, the 49ers or the Rams? And then two, do you view the 49ers as legit Super Bowl contenders this year? Because for me, the answer is the Rams, despite me having the 49ers as the 1 seed in the regular season. I think it's way more likely that Stafford, Nakua, McVay, Devontae Adams, and that pass rush that they have go on a Super Bowl playoff run than the 49ers. And I don't view the 49ers this season as legit Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah, that's 100% how I feel. When I look at the 49ers, I think they're going to have a season similar to the Vikings last year. They overperform in the regular season when people were expecting them to be a fringe playoff team. Maybe, let's see what they got. We know what talent they have, but, we'll just see what happens. They overachieve in that sense, and they end up with finishing with an amazing regular season record. However, they're not the real contenders. The Rams, I'm very high on Matt Stafford, 11 and 6. I mean, the thing is with Matt, man, he's always banged up. Can he play a whole season not banged up? Can he play a whole playoff run not banged up? He's just always hurt. Always hurt. I can't express that enough. Like, he's just always banged up. But the Rams are true contenders. 100%.
I mean, he's banged up right now with the back injury. So that's why I think, like you said, they just don't have complete regular seasons. Their goal is to be complete come the playoffs.
This might be the Rams' final run. The 49ers have a very bright future, but I don't know with Matt Stafford, at least, I don't know how many more seasons he's going to have left if he can get through this season. But yeah, I mean, the Rams are definitely Super Bowl contenders regardless.
Yeah. Last team we got to talk about here is the Arizona Cardinals. I have them 7 and 10. You have them 6 and 11. So obviously, we are both not projecting a jump. However, I do think that they could be a little trendy wild card team if people want to get a little bit spicy and predict some new teams to get in. And I do understand it to an extent. They have improved the defense a decent amount. They brought in Josh Sweat. They drafted Will Johnson for a defense that was already pretty solid last year. Jonathan Gannon, a defensive-minded head coach. And the real question marks on what the ceiling of this team will be, and it feels like we have this conversation every year with the Cardinals, is Kyler Murray and now Marvin Harrison Jr. Because I don't think Marv had a bad rookie season by any means, but coming in with Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas, and you were drafted 4th overall ahead of both of them, now there is some eyes at you like, dude, what are you? Because you were supposed to be generational, and both of those guys clearly outplayed you. Lad McConkey, who was a 2nd-round pick, outplayed you. Like, there was a lot of wide receiver talent in last year's draft class. Marv is talented, but he doesn't even look like a top 3 guy from his class right now. They have to get that going. Obviously, we don't have it predicted there. Do you think that it gets going at some point throughout the season and maybe next year is good for the Cardinals, or do you think that this is just going to be a constant up and down team with Kyler Murray that you can never depend on?
I think it's gonna be a constant up and down team, man, and it's gonna be because of Kyler Murray. I don't think Marvin Harrison Jr. I still believe in him. I think it's because of Kyler Murray. I think, honestly, if I'm being honest, man, and this is probably going to be his last season as an Arizona Cardinal. I can't imagine they run this back again.
If they get a 6-11 record like you have them predicted, or even a 7-10 one that I have, I think they got to at least explore options of moving on and sending Kyler somewhere else. If Kyler played to his best for a full season, where would you, if I told you going in, Kyler is going to be the best version of Kyler that's a fringe top 10 quarterback, where would you have the Cardinals finishing this season?
I think 10-11 wins. Probably 10.
Probably a wild card team.
Yeah. Ooh, would they make it? Yeah.
I mean, you had Dallas missing at 10 wins, but so they'd be a fringe wild card team, or like they'd be because ultimately injuries are going to happen to some team at some point, so they'd probably just be a playoff team.
I'll give them a wild card because their defense is probably gonna ball pretty decently this season. Will Johnson has been clamping stuff. Dude, how did he fall? I know he has history for injuries, but man, he's legit.
Yeah, the shoulder injury that he had, because if Will Johnson had gone out and not this past draft, but the one before it, he was like a consensus top 10 pick. And then he played another year at Michigan, and it lowered his draft stock. But he's coming out looking like potentially one of the steals of the draft.
Yeah, he's going to be legit. And honestly, man, you look at Marvin Harrison Jr., that connection would have to go for at least like 1,100 yards, 1,200 yards for them to win 10 games.
We talk about quarterbacks, their prove-it year, and Kyler, I feel like, has had a couple, but I think this is his last opportunity. Everything's there. You have a good enough defense to win. James Conner, Trey Benson, that run game's been solid. It'll be good enough again. Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., you have some supplemental guys, Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch, but like you have 2 very good weapons. You should be like you have Seattle winning 10 games. Arizona should win 10 games this year if you're in that build.
Yeah.
I think for sure. And that's got to be your expectation, to be a playoff team.
And you know what? I think it's possible. I know this isn't what we were trying to talk about, but I think it's possible that Kyler Murray, regardless, he wins 10 games or not, I think he's gone regardless, man.
I don't think so. I think if he wins 10 games and they look good in their playoff game, I think he stays.
This is like his 5th or 6th season, and
I think if they feel like, because last year, what were they, 8-9?
Yeah.
If they go from 8-9 to 10-11 wins in a playoff game that they're competitive in, I think that they'll feel they're on the right track.
Okay.
Which I think it's possible that they are.
If
that happens, truthfully, because does Marv take another leap and become a top 5 receiver or something the following year? Like, I think there's enough. Can we get another good wide receiver? Like, I think there's enough to feel like we could build on this. So those are our NFC predictions. I'm sure nobody agreed with everything that we both said.
Impossible.
So let us know what we got right, what we got wrong in the comment section. As always, we will be back next week for our official award predictions. If you made it all the way through this episode, you already know my MVP pick. So congratulations. We will catch you guys next time. We appreciate your support. Peace out.
Yes, sir.